Hi everyone, thanks for coming. This is probably one of my favourite subjects, Bitcoin mining. It's going to be very important in the future. We're coming up with some amazing energy solutions. We're going to talk about everything from grid stability, balancing, demand response, grey water recycling, which is a new one that I didn't even know was a thing. So would you like to introduce yourself, Sam?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Sam Firdos. I'm the founder and CEO of Moonwalk Systems. We're a company based out of Dubai. We do self-mining, and we also offer turnkey hosting solutions for those who are interested in mining Bitcoin. Our booth is just down there. Feel free to visit later. And our flagship site is located in Salalah, Oman. Thanks.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
You've got a fan club.
Sorry?
You've got a fan club.
Sorry?
You've got a fan club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, unexpectedly. Thank you very much for inviting us to this prestigious the conference. My name is Abdumalik, and I'm a founder and executive president of GDA. GDA is one of the largest cryptocurrency Bitcoin global producer. We have around 20 data centers all over the world, and the majority of our hash rate comes from US and predominantly from Texas. Thank you.
Nicholas?
Yes, Nicholas Safford from New Layer Capital. We're a venture capital firm operating in the Bitcoin ecosystem. We've been around since 2021. Invested in around 15 companies so far, and a lot of what we've done has been in the mining space. So we've invested in a few mining companies with sort of innovative business models, a pool called Ocean, and some other software companies that provide services to miners. And my background is energy. I spent like 15, 20 years in the energy industry. With 12 years at one of the biggest energy companies called Saudi Aramco, doing corporate development. So happy to be here.
We'll be talking about more of the companies that you're invested in later because there are some amazing initiatives there. But first of all, let's kick it off with Abdumalik. So Texas is cited as the gold standard for grid balancing and demand response. Why is it so successful, and how can it be replicated across the world?
Of course. We started our operations back in the year 2016. And before we choose the jurisdiction and the geographical location, we look at the certain criteria. The most important criteria are attractive energy prices, regulations, as well as the climate. We operate in various countries like Sweden, in Kazakhstan, in States, in Argentina, and if we consume around 600 megawatts of energy, and of course, if you want to scale up your operations, Texas is ideally placed. Why? Because Texas produces 153 megawatts of energy. And out of 153 megawatts, 63 megawatts are used, and there is still gigawatts. So I just made the big mistake. Texas produced 153 gigawatts. The current consumption in Texas is 63 gigawatts, and unutilized capacity is 90 gigawatts, which is a positive delta. And most of the energy produced by Texas, especially in West Texas, is renewable, and Texas has access to the cheap energy. And if we look at the barriers to entry, and the barriers to entry quite low in Texas. Why? Because the Texas is a super friendly, and they created a super friendly environment for the Bitcoin miners. There is ERCOT who provides a load and response program, which is a fantastic instrument for the miners, and we see the growth of the production in Texas. And if you look at the growth from 2024 to 2025, it's a 34 gigawatts. just for comparison, what is 33 gigawatts? I mean, if you look at the Malaysia, right, so the consumption of the total consumption in Malaysia is around 40 gigawatts. Switzerland is around 30 gigawatts, which is a substantial number. And therefore, as a result, 20% of the global hash rate comes from Texas.
Do we have a centralization problem?
Sorry?
If 20% of the hash rate is coming from there, is that an issue?
It's not an issue, but I think this number will grow up because of the reasons I have described. But this is the Texas should be the good model for the other energy producing countries. If they take the same approach, I think that will also make those countries and those regions champions in that area where they operate.
Do you think that anybody could replicate Texas now? Do you think that perhaps, what's the next country that could have a similar setup like Texas? Because they're smashing it.
Yeah, I think the countries has two ways of development. So the country has I'm talking about the purely energy producing countries, whether they're located in MENA or it's Southeast Asia or it's South America. So there is two ways. Either country takes the approach as a Texas and encourage and motivate all the producers to come deploy and install the capacities in Texas, or they take the other Asian countries approach where the mining getting banned. And I think there is some areas where we see if the government will bring the similar type of approach and create a similar business environment. So, and we will hope the other the miners will also migrate some of the capacity to those areas.
I can comment on that. The Middle East might be a place where the success in Texas could be replicated. There's abundant energy resources here, obviously, solar mainly, wind, and also obviously fossil fuels. But what's lacking in the Middle East, at least in Saudi Arabia, I think, and maybe in the UAE, which I'm less familiar with, is the lack of a deregulated energy market, the lack of robust demand response programs where these countries are going to be adding gigawatts and gigawatts of renewable capacity over the next 10 to 20 years. I think Saudi Arabia is supposed to add 50 gigawatts of renewables by 2040. 50 gigawatts is a massive number, and if you have a grid that is that renewables heavy, what happens with renewables is you only produce power in the daytime if it's solar, so you need batteries to store the energy at night. So in order to have these demand response programs and grid balancing programs, you need to deregulate the energy market and implement these programs if you're the government. With all that renewable capacity coming online over the years, you will need these kinds of programs here. So it's a good time to, I think it's a good opportunity for countries in the Middle East to start this process, and with these programs in place, the region can become one of the leaders in the Bitcoin mining industry.
So, Bitcoin miners buy energy as a last resort, so the buyer of last resort. So, Nicholas, can you tell us any examples of where companies have been made viable using Bitcoin mining?
Well, I know in Texas, it takes years. If you're building like a solar farm, for example, it can take years to connect to the grid, to sell the power to the grid, right? So when you're a project developer trying to make a project economical, you need to build the solar farm, and then you need to wait a few years to connect to the grid. I am aware of some Bitcoin mining companies partnering up with these solar developers. So when the solar developers build the farm, they can immediately sell the energy to a Bitcoin miner over the interim period that it takes to connect to the grid, thereby improving the economics of the project. It's able to generate cash flows faster. And it's enabling the development of more renewable energy just by having Bitcoin as an off-taker in that interim period before these projects can connect to the grid.
That actually leads on nicely to you, Sam. So your flagship store is in Oman.
Yes.
So
correct.
how does that contribute to grid stability?
Sure. So not many people may realize this, but there's two key benefits for governments when it comes to Bitcoin mining. The first is utilizing unused electrical infrastructure, or basically excess electrical infrastructure. Second is grid stability. So when a country basically builds their electrical infrastructure, they plan for the years to come. They plan for future demand and for the growth of their country. Now, when, let's say, for example, a 500 megawatts power plant is built, there might not be the demand in that region today to offtake that entire capacity. So what happens is basically these power plants are not able to operate at optimal production levels and operate in inefficient levels. Where Bitcoin mining can come in handy is basically it can utilize this excess infrastructure that's available and allow power plants to operate at better levels, let's say the optimal production levels, that in turn will lower their cost per megawatt hour and in some cases even lower emissions. The second aspect of it is grid stability, which you have seasonal cycles of peak consumption and basically lower consumption. So here in the Middle East, as an example, during the hot summer days, you see the peak consumption on the grid. But then during the winters, it tends to tone down much more. Now, where Bitcoin mining can be useful here is basically they can help grid operators stabilize the grid, that when there's excess energy available, basically they offtake that excess energy whenever you reach peak hours and the grid needs the energy back. Basically with a flip of a switch, mining rigs can be turned off. And this basically helps grid operators and power plants deliver energy in an efficient way from the power plant to the end consumer. So
can I ask a quick question about that? So I understand why that's important when it comes to renewables because it's intermittent, but you mine from coal.
No, I mean, we're connected to the grid in Oman, so we don't have control of the source of energy. It's not coal-powered.
Right.
But basically the idea that I'm getting at here is...
So what is the grid reliant on?
Well, Oman has a lot of initiatives to bring renewable energies, but I think a good chunk of the energy today is gas-operated. Right,
gas. Okay, but that's easy to control, no?
It's easy to control, but basically where our facility comes into play is by allowing power plants to operate more efficiently, we basically help them lower their emissions.
Right, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay, sorry, Nicholas.
Like in Oman, basically, as we gear up to 200 megawatts, we're working closely with the authorities to see basically how we can help them operate at more optimal levels for their power plants, but also basically help them stabilize the grid based on their own needs. But we also have other initiatives as well, which we're looking into solar energy as well in Oman and gas flaring projects as well.
I was getting confused. It was the non-renewable aspect, not the coal. I don't know where you'd get coal from here, but natural gas. Sorry, Nicholas.
So what happens in the Middle East is on a daily basis, like between night and day, the grid can, 20% of the utilization of the grid can go down during the night because you don't need the air conditioning during the night, right? So.
But natural gas is easier to control, though.
Also, it's very seasonal. So in the summertime, you have way more energy demand than you have in the wintertime in the Middle East. But you need the baseload power for the summertime, right? So let's say you need 80 gigawatts of power to power your air conditioners in the summer. In the wintertime, you only need 60 gigawatts. So you have a 20 gigawatt gap of power infrastructure that is sitting idle in the wintertime that can be monetized with Bitcoin mining.
Right.
I think that's what Sam's getting at, is by utilizing that excess wasted capacity that's already been built, you're making the whole grid more efficient that way.
But Susie, your comment is right. The gas plays as a balancing partner here also. But if we look at the Bitcoin mining, I think this is a perfect example when the energy producers and the Bitcoin miners complete each other. Because if we look at the renewable energy, right? Let's take the wind as example. So the peak for the production of the energy based on the wind, it's during the night. And as you see, therefore, but the consumption, the peak of the consumption is during the day. So the Bitcoin miners, they consume 24 hours a day. And the load response programs invented by ERCOT, for example, in Texas, it's ideally help to Bitcoin miners to mine 24 hours a day, but to turn the machine off during the peak time and to send the energy to the grid. And the same time, it gives a fantastic opportunity for the ERCOT to balance the grid. So this is a very good example when the Bitcoin mining actually plays a super important role for the grid.
So it sounds like it would play a really important role regardless of what your grid is run from. So it's not just about demand response and flexible load for renewables. I think that's something that maybe people don't appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you can add on top of this as well is when you want to build a solar power plant and you're not sure the demand is there, this is exactly where Bitcoin mining can complement and make sure that every last megawatt of that renewable energy is used.
Yeah.
So there are focuses that can basically gear towards this. It's just a matter of working closely with the authorities to be as efficient and be as sustainable as possible.
Yeah, it's perfect. So Nicholas, your company invests in lots of different companies, from heat miners to Vespine Energy and Sustainable Bitcoin Protocol. So how are you using tokenization, biogas to limit Bitcoin mining's environmental and economic impact?
So let me just talk about the companies that we invested in, a few of the companies we invested in. So Hestia is one company. They make radiators. Instead of a heating element in the radiator, inside the radiator are computers. And the radiator heats up because the computers are running calculations, and the computers in the radiator are Bitcoin mining chips, right? The company is a French company. They're a heating company. They're not a Bitcoin miner. They're a heating company. And the customer that they're selling to are buildings and people who want to have heat. By doing that, they're recycling the energy. So they're using the energy twice. One, to heat someone's house, and two, to mine Bitcoin. Or to run other types of computing applications like AI in the future. Another company we invested in called Vespine Energy is utilizing landfill gas that's vented. When you have a landfill, you have a bunch of trash, all that methane is vented into the atmosphere, or it's collected and flared. This company is going and it's monetizing that gas by burning the methane and then mining Bitcoin. I think Sustainable Bitcoin Protocol is the tokenized carbon credit. They've created a tokenized carbon credit that for every Bitcoin that you mine on sustainable energy, you get one Bitcoin. You get a token for equivalent to one Bitcoin. So the plan is to sell this token for miners to earn this token, and then the miner can sell the token to BlackRock or Fidelity or to these ETF providers who want to say that their ETFs are sustainable or carbon neutral. And I think if a Bitcoin carbon credit were to exist, that could really incentivize more sustainable energy, more Bitcoin mining on sustainable energy, and it could incentivize, if we can incentivize that process, you'll have renewable additionality. Miners will be making more money because they'll have another form of revenue, and the ETFs will be happy because they can say the Bitcoin in their ETF is sustainable. So I think mining is going in two directions. One direction is the grid stabilization, energy storage type huge projects, mega projects, integrated with a grid. And the other way Bitcoin mining is going is very small scale, very distributed, dispersed around the world in business models like landfill gas, flare gas to Bitcoin mining, and heating, using Bitcoin mining to provide heat to consumers around the world.
I think that's probably going to be the only way that we actually achieve decentralization is when it's built into everybody's homes. So, and all of these distributed solutions, I think at the moment we're becoming far too centralized. And in actual fact, we need that to keep the base layer sufficiently decentralized. But with the heaters, do they get the Bitcoin or do they get paid fiat?
So they're selling a radiator. The customer wants heat. The customer doesn't care where the heat comes from, whether it's coming from a heating element or from computers inside the radiator.
They get dirty fiat, don't they?
So the customer is actually just getting heat. They don't get any of the Bitcoin. The company gets the Bitcoin.
But they get a reduction on their bills?
No.
So hang on. So they get nothing except for the heat, and the company gets the Bitcoin. They don't even get a discount.
No, they don't get a discount because they get it's cheaper than a heat pump. They're selling to real estate developers. So real estate developers have an option of using a heat pump or their product. Their product is cheaper than a heat pump. Right. So the real estate developers are interested in using their product instead of a heat pump.
That's super smart.
Because it's way less, it takes way less space and it's way cheaper.
Got it. Yeah, that's very clever.
But they're essentially a miner because they're earning all the Bitcoin.
Got it. So, Sam, when we discussed this before, I had no idea that you could use Bitcoin mining to recycle grey water. Would you like to? I really want to know more about this. Could you expand on that, please?
Yeah, so being in Oman and being connected to the grid, of course, we don't have the choice of what energy source we're going for. So we've basically taken other initiatives to see how we can operate more sustainably. Our site in Oman is a hydro-cooled site, which means we require water to cool our systems. And one thing we've become aware is that in our region, there's a lot of excess grey water. So for those of you who don't know what grey water is, it's essentially reused water that's treated. And when a country has excess grey water, they have no choice but to basically put it out in the environment because storing such large volumes of water is expensive. So what we as Moonwalk do is basically we've implemented an RO, reverse osmosis plant in our site, which off-takes this grey water, cleans it, so we can utilize it for our cooling systems. And whatever excess water we don't have, we basically put it back into our environment as a much cleaner state of water than we receive it. So, this is just an example of initiatives people can take for sustainable mining that's just outside of energy.
Yeah, I was really impressed when you said that because I thought that I knew what all the uses for Bitcoin mining were, and you threw that into the mix, and I was like, wow, that's a new one. So we've only got 3 minutes left. I'd like to go back to you, Abdumalik. So beyond energy efficiency, Bitcoin mining is creating lots of opportunities to financial inclusions, especially in undeveloped regions. So what innovations, like heating greenhouses, and what social impacts should we consider when it comes to the future of Bitcoin mining?
I think really I want you to destroy this wrong negative perception that Bitcoin is just a scheme where the people use energy and they make the money and leave the CO2 emission. Bitcoin plays a super positive role for ESG, which includes the factors which you just described right now, right? Because we all understand that ESG is not an option anymore; it's our duty. And if you look at the Bitcoin miners today, there are certain positive contributions we do for the world. Number one is, I give you an example what we do in Sweden, for example. The heat with which we produce in Sweden, the heat which comes from the data centers, we direct to the municipality, to the garages where they keep the trucks and the snow cleaning machines, and we heat and keep all these garages in a nice and warm conditions. We send the energy to the greenhouses, and we help to produce the vegetables And this vegetables goes to the municipality and the schools and the kindergartens. And if you look at the Bitcoin as the payment instrument, so there is 1.4 billion people who has no access to the banking. This is the statistics which comes from the World Bank. And Bitcoin plays a fantastic role in order to help these people for their payments. And lastly, I wanted to say that Bitcoin miners, they bring the positive contribution for the society themselves in terms of we're creating the jobs, we're creating we support the talents. And as example, the Payet, the small town where we operate in West Texas is one of our data centers located in that area. So we have more than 200 megawatts production there. And the total population of the city is 83 people. And we brought additional 60 people in that area. But 60 people maybe sounds not such a huge number, but for the small cities like Payet, it plays an important role. Plus we use 500 the workers in order to build those data centers. And all these people are from Texas. This is a pure example of what the Bitcoin producers. They bring the positive contribution to the economy. And I give you another example. It's Kazakhstan.
We've only got about 30 seconds.
Sorry?
A few seconds left.
Yeah, I can. All I'm trying to say is, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin mining has a positive impact on the society and on the environment as well.
Can I have one quick point?
Go with that.
If you compare Bitcoin mining to other industries, just traditional finance and gold, you'll notice that Bitcoin mining, more than 50% of the energy consumed is renewable energy. The biggest source being hydro, second biggest source being wind, and the consumption is less than half than gold industry and traditional finance.
Gold is people just don't talk about the pollution that comes with gold. Really, it's really bad. So, Bitcoin mining is not just securing the network; it's also providing real-world solutions and energy solutions, and repurposing waste heat and mining off methane and heating homes and using stranded energy. So I think that the message that we want to send today is that it's not actually boiling the oceans, it's actually providing real-world solutions to the problems that we see today on a global scale. Sorry, did you have one last thing to say? I was going to end it.
No, I just said that.
Can I have a round of applause for my fantastic panel, please?
Thank you, Susie.
Is your company ready for the next evolution in financial strategy? Bitcoin for Corporations is your partner in securing the future of your business. With exclusive membership benefits, our comprehensive masterclass, and a network of trusted service providers, we provide the insights and resources to help you incorporate Bitcoin into your financial strategy, ensuring stability and long-term value. Strengthen your business. Innovate with confidence. Bitcoin for Corporations, protecting your treasury and positioning you for the future.